Welcome to the third edition of Cebu Landmasters Homefest, the company's biggest online sales event that showcases economic, mid-market, and high-end CLI dream homes in safe and secure communities that have generous amenities, property management that ensures 24/7 security, and easy access to essentials. Titled New Home, New Hope, this year's Homefest emphasizes on the renewed hope buying a new home brings to families and individuals, especially during these uncertain times. Discounted prices on selected projects, easy all-in down payments, flexible payment terms are available during this virtual event that will run from February 15 to March 31. To make choosing your new home in CLI communities more special, we bring you a series of lifestyle talks. This afternoon is the fourth and last of this series of talks, and the topic is Emergency Proofing Your Home, to be presented to us by Cebu Landmasters Technical Planning Manager for Cebu Projects. Our distinguished speaker is a graduate of the University of San Carlos School of Architecture, a licensed and registered architect, and a certified Burde professional. He also has over 18 years of real estate industry experience in the fields of planning and sustainable design for residential, mixed use, township, and hospitality developments. He is also a former instructor of the Department of Architecture in the University of San Carlos Talamban campus and a past president of the United Architects of the Philippines Cebu chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our speaker this afternoon, Architect Francis Rodriguez.
Welcome to this episode of Emergency Proofing Your Homes. My name is Francis Rodriguez. I'm an architect and a green building practitioner for project sustainability. I'm here to give you tips in making your home resilient to natural disasters. But first, we need to answer the most important and only question that matters. Why do we need to emergency proof your homes? Simple answer: to protect your investment. Your investment is a long-term decision. It addresses so many aspects in our lives, such as necessity, to have shelter above our heads, security, to feel safe, and the comfort of our own. Lastly, ownership, your very possession. Our main objective is to maintain the integrity of the building envelope, including roofs, walls, and openings, such as doors and windows, from forces of nature that leads to severe damage and long-lasting effects in our way of life. To start with, let's identify four major disasters in the Philippines. One, typhoon or tropical storm cyclones. This is like strong winds or extremely heavy rainfall or storm surge. Number two, floods or landslides. Water level rises, there's ground movement along the slope and hilly properties or hilly formations. Number three, earthquakes. This is the violent shaking of the ground. Wherever you may be, you will feel the effects of the earthquake. Lastly, number four, volcanic eruptions. These are explosive release of lava and ash and gas in our atmosphere. Remember, disaster dictates preparation. It's important that we understand how typhoon signals will impact our structures and may lead to saving not only our properties but also to save lives. Here are some basic information you need to know about typhoons. Typhoons, we normally experience that. No? And then, to give you an overview, Philippines has an average of 20 storms per year. Located just above the equator and faces the Western Pacific with no natural barriers or land mass to ease up the energy of storm before they hit land. So let's discuss the signals. Signal number one. Signal number one, as you know, that this is really not to cause any panic at all. So these are just the wind impacts or no damage to very light damage. So expect impacts of 30 to 60 kilometers per hour of wind, and normally the lead time for this is 36 hours. So what to do when you have signal number 1? Check the stability of your home and reinforce if necessary. Tune into weather news for updates. Monitor Pagasa's latest weather bulletins. Signal number 2. So this is light to moderate damage. So expect impacts of winds about 61 to 120 kilometers per hour. So the lead time for preparation or until it arrives is about 24 hours upon issuance. So what to do when we have signal number 2? So you need to stock up food, water, or batteries. Stay inside a concrete structure. Make sure your cell phones and emergency lights are fully charged. Signal number 3. Signal number 3 is like a higher category. So the impact of wind is about moderate to heavy. So this is, we're reaching about 121 to 170 kilometers per hour. So the lead time is about 18 hours. So this is where things really get serious. So what to do when you have signal number 3? Number 1 is that you evacuate from low-lying areas to higher grounds. Get updated on the latest tropical cyclone development. Everybody is advised to stay in sturdy houses. Stay away from riverbanks or coastal areas. Signal number 4. Signal number 4 is like heavy to very damage magnitude. So expect winds in a very strong impact of about 171 to 220 kilometers per hour. So we have about 12 hours of lead time for us to prepare. What to do for signal number 4? So stay in safe houses or evacuation centers. This is very practical. So you need to cancel all your travel and outdoor activities. Stay tuned to latest weather bulletins. Signal number 5. So this is very heavy and widespread damage. So phenomenal effect. No? So everywhere you look at, there's expect that there's severe damage on properties, on infrastructures, or better yet, lives. Lives are really at stake here. So expect impact beyond 220 kilometers per hour. So we also get a lead time of about 12 hours. So what to do when we have signal number 5? So of course, you need to cancel your travel plans and outdoor activities. You need to stay in safe houses or evacuation centers. To explain further on the effects of uplift and lateral forces, here are some visuals that illustrates potential damages in our homes. So you see, when strong winds come, you see houses tilting over, being dislodged from their foundation. You see houses, their roofing sheets blown away because their roofing frames or roofing sheets are not properly fastened. When you encounter strong winds that enters the house without negative pressure or exit way, this create an uplifting force that ultimately detaches your roof from the main frame of your house. Another effects of strong winds is that it collapses your walls, especially if your walls are unstable or made out of light materials. There's a saying in real estate: location, location, location. It's really a good advice since location dictates your house designs and construction specifications. So when you build in higher ground or mountain areas, it's probable that you're subjected to strong or extreme forces. And if you build in these vulnerable areas, build stronger than normal houses. Consult your architect and structural engineers on how to strategize in positioning your houses to take advantage of the natural terrain. This will become your shield from the extreme forces of nature. Another way of taking advantage of terrain or allowing your house to be protected is that you shield it from high wind by planting permeable barriers such as strong trees. Another important consideration is the roof shape. So, based on the findings from several professional groups, there's a preferred roof design configuration that offers more resiliency during typhoons. This roof is called hip roof. A hip roof is a type of roof where all sides slope downwards to the walls, usually with a fairly grade of slope or a gentle slope. So thus, a hip roof of house has no gables or other vertical slides to the roof. Especially, it will look like a pyramid when you have a very squarish plan. So roof form or shape, so more or less hip roofs offer much more or less wind resistance than gable roofs. So you see the comparison here between a hip roof and a gable roof. So for gable roofs, if ever you find yourself living in a house when you have your gable roof already installed, so make sure that it's high pitch roof or make adjustments on the slope. So avoid a low pitch roof. So the low pitch roof has a high tendency of being blown or being carried over by strong winds. So there's a specified degrees recommended as you see the comparisons between a high and a low and a gable and a hip roof. So it's between 25 to 40 degrees. Roof eaves. So you notice that roof eaves, this is the part of the roof that protrudes or extend outward the corners or the perimeter of your walls, usually outside now. So roof eaves can be limited to 18 to 20 inches. So avoid large overhangs. Although in tropical climate, if you have a larger or longer roof eaves, it's better because it offers more shading, more protection from the heat of the sun. But you should also take into consideration that this also gives you more uplift forces during typhoons. So remember that you should brace or tie your roof properly to your main structure. Design a separate construction rather than extensions of the main roof of the building. So you see that there's a comparison between a single roof and a roof that is segmented so that when you see the comparisons of the effects of the wind, you see that the main roof with one single attachment is blown or torn apart, and then that leaves you lesser protection to your interiors, rather than on the alternative design when you have segmented roofs, your protection is much more guaranteed over that configuration. So long roof eaves is ideal for sun shading, but offers more uplift force when strong wind hit the structure. So you compare it with the other, that with shorter eaves, it has more wind resistance, less uplift forces, but of course you get the downside of it. There's lesser shading. Here you see the vulnerable roofing parts. You see that the most vulnerable part during the typhoon are or areas most at risk are the ones at the sides. So you see the cuffing comes off. You see sheets rolls up sideways at the gable end, and sheets lift up at the eaves. So it's recommended that we use number 24 or the gauge, or specifically around 0.40 millimeter thick. So the roofing sheet is important. And then when we come up with a specification on the kind of roof that we're going to use, so it's important to also observe the proper spacing or proper fastening of this roof to our purlins. So the purlins are the frames that carries or that holds our roofing material. As you see in the illustration, we're using a metal tech screw. So the metal tech screw is usually 2.5, and it's usually fastened close apart at the outer fringes or at the corners of the roof. This is where the tensions and the strong forces really interacts violently with the material. So you need to space your tech screw very close to each other to secure that area. So another recommendation are the thickness of our roofing sheets. You can go at the lowest of 24. You can go 25 or 26. So you can observe the spacing of the lats from for 26. You have 450 millimeters to 600 millimeters. For 25, you have 600 millimeters to 750 millimeters. For 24, you have 600 millimeters for nails or 900 millimeters for screws. So it's also important that you look into the connection of your cladding or sheeting to the truss. So this needs to be designed for the increased forces, especially at the corners of the roof edges, considered as zones higher local wind suctions. So you see the pictures here that are the purlins here are anchored to the wall by steel bar at recommended size of about 6 millimeter. So this is covered by plaster. So look at the other image. You see that the roof cover sheet, it's connected to the purlins with a steel bar of 6 millimeter angle bar or deform bar. So it's recommended that we use the kind of truss and the right truss for homes. So the use of built up trusses are more stable rather than single rafters that we normally see on light constructed houses. So it's better to have a rigid frame of truss in order for it to be more stable during typhoons. It's also nice and prudent that you protect your windows. So this is more or less your entry, the where the wind enters, no. And then if you properly secure them during typhoons, the better for you to have a secure and to lessen the damage inside of your property. So cover it with stable boards. Sometimes designers incorporate shutters. So the shutters acts as a barrier in protecting your glass panels from flying debris. So you will see here that it's also important to lock your windows. So if you lock your windows, so there's lesser damage in your house. No? But if ever there's a need for you to open, it's important to also consider the exit way of the wind. So this allows a good airflow inside your house. So overall, my recommendation is to improve your house airflow. You see in this image that you allow the air to come inside and you also allow it to exit properly. So there's a good chance for you to have a good circulation in your house when you properly design the entry and the exit of the wind. So you see that the forces that you're dealing with are the upload forces, the shear load, or the lateral load. When you address all of these issues, it's safe to say that you will have a resilient house. The second natural disaster to prepare for is flooding and landslides. This is the water level rising or the ground movement along the slope. There are several ways to address flooding. So one way is to build your house on higher grounds. So house built on higher grounds offers more flood proof and protection. Another way is that if you have a multi-story house, your house has more resiliency towards in continuing your way of life. If the lower ground gets flooded, you have another layer or another level of your house that will act as a staging area wherein you put your food or you stock supplies or it becomes your shelter. If water level persists on rising, so eventually you'll have to have another evacuation plan. So your roof becomes your area for your airlift evacuation or a way for you to secure your life. Another watch out if you build your house on lower ground is that you need to take into account that landslides and soil erosion occurs when there is a heavy downpour of rain. One important reminder in addressing flood issue is to really look into your local sewage system. Check and maintain your local sewer pipes. So problems with your drainage often aren't fully noticeable until it's too late. So, however, if you take time to fully inspect your property, you may notice some telling signs of drainage problems. Other signs of leakage, or can you smell anything out of the ordinary? A telling sign is when you start to notice wet patches or leaks around the property that are appearing in places they shouldn't. Another urban myth that we should take into to fact that the flooding only occurs on coastline. This is wrong. So inland flooding can also occur by soil erosion. Remember to properly consult and to look into the area that you're building and take into account all of this consideration. Number three, natural disaster to prepare for is earthquake. Earthquakes are violent shaking of the ground. So it's happens without warning. Well, there's no warning device or apparatus yet discovered to predict an event. So an earthquake is a violent from weak to strong shaking of the ground which is produced by sudden movement of rock materials below the Earth's surface. So the earthquake originates in tectonic plate boundary. So you often see visuals of demonstrating two surfaces that are unequal. So these are the surface that are upward force and then there's a downward thrust. So in between those plates, you have that fault line already. So when it comes to earthquake, you need to understand that there are several magnitude or they say levels no, of how strong the earthquake is. So the lowest would be 2.5 and the highest would be 8 or greater. So you need to take into account that when you build or strategize in emergency proofing your homes, remember to talk to your engineers and your designers that you want a resilient home that is prone to typhoon, to flooding, and this one is an earthquake proof. You need to understand the forces that you need to you need to counter. So there's like a seismic resistance. It's like the swaying of your structure. The other one is the vibration control or the shaking of your structure. And the other one is the base isolation, wherein engineers will consider calculations on how to move along the movement of the ground, where your structure needs to follow the motion. So the more rigid your structure is, the more tendency that your house will be damaged by earthquake. So remember, consult a professional. Talk to your architects who design and plans for your house, and also hire a good structural engineer who computes the strength and integrity of the building to last and withstand the forces of nature. This includes the sizing of your columns and beams, rebar specifications like quantity, the grade of your reinforcement bars, the bending of the ties, roofing reinforcements, and slab thickness. Also, another important thing when you build your house or when you consider in making your house more resilient is to invest in a geotechnical investigation study. So what is a geotechnical investigation study? So these are performed by professionals, experts, or geotechnical engineers or geologists that obtain information on the physical properties of your soil. So remember that when you build your house, you don't have any inclination of what's underneath that, no? And then when you take into account that when you build structure there, your structure will counter or react to the soil or the bearing capacity of that ground. So it's important to know and also invest on information on protecting your property as well. So this investigation is performed regularly by developers, by consultants, and should be considered in your cost when you properly budget and plan for your homes. The fourth and final disaster to prepare for is volcanic eruptions. So volcanic eruptions, they also give us signs of like a mountain that or a volcano being or going to erupt now. So the signs would be lava coming out or smoke. But what we're dealing here is that we're dealing with a gas or explosion of gas or lava or in the atmosphere or ashes falling from the sky. Remember that in preparation, unlike storms, earthquakes, and floods, volcanic eruption is more or less somehow uh, the preparations that entails is more or less basic. But you need to take into account that when ashes are falling from the sky, you need to clean your roof. Ashes, unlike water, water easily drains along the slope of the roof. Ashes are like powder substance that are like though they don't naturally drain when they fall from our roof. So you need to clean the ashes. No? So this prevents your roof from collapsing. So imagine that I am the roof here, and then there's sack of like ashes being uh, carried over my shoulder. So in moments time, I will also feel the weight of the collected ashes. So you need to securely or to remove the ashes, and then apart from that, you need to prepare for the basic things that you normally prepare for emergencies. So, such as flashlights, extra batteries, first aid kits, manual, emergency food, manual for other important appliances that you need to use during the event. So, essential medicines. You need sturdy shoes if ever you need to go out of your house and then walk on the streets. And then one added feature here is that you need to have a breathing respiratory protection or a mask. So to prevent you from inhaling poisonous gas or ashes collected on your nostrils like that, or even goggles for your eye protection. So these are just basic emergency preparedness kit that you need to prepare. So there's food, there's water, there's a batteries, first aid kits, toiletries, important documents you need to secure. And then you also need to have a checklist. A checklist is somehow your guide or your insurance as to you were you able to prepare all those essentials that you need for your family. So we take into account all all of the dangers and hazards. So also one way to prepare is that you look at your appliances, you look at your pictures or mirrors, bookshelves, other breakables that will tend to fall off during disasters. You need to properly secure them. For your curtain blinds, close nightly to avoid flying glass. So for outdoor chairs, appliances, so you need to secure them the inside your homes. So safety is of priority, and more important is that you need to make your house a resilient and functioning house after the disaster occurs. Okay, knowing all the disasters that I've just discussed and the preparation that it tails you to do, one important reminder is that you need to have a that mental state, that presence of mind. That's why we have emergency kits. You have checklists that you need to look and review. Those checklists will help you guide on things that you really need to prepare so as not to forget any valuables or any important belongings that you need to take with you if ever you need to seek higher grounds or to relocate to evacuation centers. So more importantly, um, my message for you is that emergency proofing your homes is really vital, as it not only addresses in protecting your investment, but it also will save lives. So again, thank you for sharing your time with me. I am Architect Francis Rodriguez, and I hope you enjoy my segment of emergency proofing your homes.
Thank you, Architect Francis, for your interesting talk and for sharing your practical insights on how we can emergency proof our homes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, kindly send us a message through Clio, CLI's chatbot, and we will respond to you within the day. Thank you for joining us in the last session of Homefest 2022 Lifestyle Talks. We have a few days left before Homefest ends on March 31. Visit www.homefest-cebulandmasters.com. Thank you everyone and have a great day.